And our next candidate, Judge Tawil.
Tawil.
I have never pronounced your name correctly. All the times that I have said
But
it.
it's okay. He doesn't pronounce
You're not the
anybody's
first,
name
you won't be
correctly.
the
Well,
last.
one, let me give you an official round of applause. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And secondly, I want to tell everybody listening and our entire audience, Damon Jones, my partner, Damon and I in Black Westchester with the radio show, we keep telling the black and brown community one of the most important things you can vote for is Westchester County Judge, and then after that, District Attorney. Those are two very important because of the criminal justice issues and how we get handled as far as the justice system is concerned. So I'm proud to present. You will be through the third candidate that is running in the race for the two seats available for Westchester County Judge.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So share with the people who are just seeing you for the first time. Who are you? What have you done up to this point? And
So I've been in public service for 12 years. The last 8 years, I'm on my 8th year on the bench in Ossining. I'm a current sitting elected town judge, and I handle many of the same cases that I would handle in county court right now. Everything from the most minor offense up to felonies, including rape, murder, arson, assault, domestic crimes, you name it. I've seen it in my court. I've handled it in my court. Of course, some of you may know, maybe you don't know, that the county court is only for felonies, and when you have a case that starts in the local court, that's a felony that can't be resolved as a misdemeanor, it goes up to county court. And after 8 years being on the
Really?
bench, yeah, that's right.
Oh, wow.
So after 8 years, I'm ready to move up to the next step. I've been in public service for 12 years. I was a councilman before I was a judge, and public service is something that I love to do. I've been doing it for a long time, and I want to do it full time. I want to do it for my career.
well, we're going on our 5th anniversary in August, and of the website and the radio show. 2nd anniversary of the paper. And in the time that I've been doing this, I've always been told, do not ask any judge. They can't tell you this, they can't tell you that. But I try to push the level of whatever and ask questions that I can, and all
I'll
you can
let
do
you
is
know
not
when you
answer.
found the line.
So I know I've talked to all the other candidates, and we've talked about the recent criminal justice reforms. Can you say where you stand on those and how you feel about the reforms that were made and why they were good or not good, or
So
and
the
what
ref-
else we need?
Sure. The reforms that were made so far, primarily bail reform, and the less known and less sexy, but in my opinion, even more important, discovery reform,
Yes.
are huge and
Explain.
important. I'll explain in a
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
Bail reform is what people have been talking about. That's what people know. And that's very important in and of itself.
Yeah.
No
'Cause when
cash
s-
bail is what they've been talking about.
That's what they're talking about for certain misdemeanor crimes. And it's important to have that reform. To me, what's more important, though, is having a judge that knows what he's doing and knows the right thing to do. Because you can legislate all you want. If you don't have the right judge with the right experience, it's not going to make a difference.
Right.
Okay.
I
I've been
just
doing
wanna say-
bail reform before they had bail reform.
I just want to say, and the importance of the judges, we're seeing cases like the Central Park 5 case. Basically, they were supposed to, you pick a judge. They assigned this judge because he was known to be very hard and just to convict those kids. That's why I always inform our community it's important to get involved and get to know who these judges are and what they represent, and
Yep.
especially with
That's
that
right.
documentary just coming out now.
Yeah. So to cover bail reform a little bit, bail reform is important because when you first get accused of a crime, you're brought in front of a judge, you had something called an arraignment. Okay, right there, the judge is going to, amongst other things, be asked maybe to set bail. And it's important for a judge to understand that, there's equality and there's equity. Big difference, right?
Right.
You can't, $100 bail to someone may be just what I have in my pocket. To someone else, it might mean I'm sitting in jail 6 months because I don't have $100.
Right.
Okay, and that's important to understand. Okay, and you need to be sensitive to that. So what they did with bail reform is a good first step, but again, to me, it's more important that the judge knows what to do, because you have to be able, as a judge, to look at the person in front of you and make a decision. Who is this person? Okay, I see what they're arrested for, what they're accused of. I see what their rap sheet may or may not have on it. But go beyond that. Am I dealing with a kid that made a stupid mistake? Am I dealing with a drug addict or alcoholic or someone with a mental health problem that needs help? Am I dealing with someone that just had a bad day and did something wrong? Or am I dealing with a predicate criminal that's maybe a gang member or someone that's going out committing crimes on a continual basis? That's important to know. And you need to know that when you're dealing with them. So that's an important part. Bail reform is number one. Number two, Lorraine, your point, discovery reform.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
New York is one of the few states that's not what's called an open file discovery state. In other states, you go to the prosecutor and say, hi, I want to see your file, and they have to show it to you.
Mm-hmm.
In New York, you have to make a motion, you have to do it within the right amount of time, and then the prosecutor only has to show it to you right before trial, what they've got. And to me, you want to talk
Oh,
about
wow.
leveling out
Wow.
and dealing with the institutional implicit bias in the criminal justice system. Discovery reform is where that's at. And New York just passed
First
some
time
laws
I
to
heard
change that, and that's super important because, you know, what puts you in jail might be the bail. What keeps you in jail might be, I don't know what the prosecutor's got against me.
Right, and you can't
So,
prepare for it. You
Can't prepare
can't-
for it. That's right. And in my court, we've already been issuing orders called Rosario Brady orders, where we insist that the prosecution turn over their files. We've been doing that for a year already.
Wow.
You know, that's criminal justice reform from the bench, on the bench. And we've been doing it. My court, the Court of Appeals a couple of years ago, mandated that you have to have a lawyer for every defendant in the town court system. But we did it before the Court of Appeals because that's the right thing to do. Those are the democratic values alive on the bench. I always tell people I'm in a non-political job. Okay, I can't be involved in politics. But what does a Democrat do? What does a progressive Democrat do on the bench? Those are the type of things that you do. That's the democratic principles, the progressive principles alive and well on the bench, and I've been doing it for a long time.
Well, like the judge in Court in Providence.
And where?
Did you know that show Court in Providence? That judge, he's very sympathetic to people.
Some people tell me I should go on a show like that.
Well, you sound like him. Yeah.
Listen, I'm a kid from Brooklyn, you know, so yeah.
You seem to have empathy for people.
Well, you
And,
know what?
you
I do. And, you know, it's funny. You never really see yourself the way other people see you, and it's hard for me to see what I'm doing. I just try and do the right thing. And I actually found out that that's what my reputation is. Now, I went for an interview to get the Hispanic Democrats of Westchester endorsement, which I got. And the way
Congratulations.
thank you. And it was supposed to go up there, and I was supposed to give my 3 to 5 minute speech, and then I was going to be asked questions. So what happened was I gave my 3 to 5 minute speech, and I was getting ready for the questions. And then all of a sudden, people started standing up and giving testimonials for me that I'd never heard about. Apparently, word got out that this judge in Ossining, you're in trouble, you want to get that guy, because he's going to treat you right, no matter if you're black, Hispanic, white, rich, poor, it doesn't matter. And that's the way I feel. That's the way I am on the bench.
That's a beautiful thing.
And I got to tell you, I was a little taken back by it. I walked out, I was like, wow, I didn't even know that. So.
Then you're humble too. Look at that.
Well, you know, someone once told me, you know, I have to not be humble because I'm running for office, but someone once was telling me recently, they said, you know, you take your job seriously, you take your court seriously, but you don't take yourself seriously. And I guess it's kind of true, you know. I'm just, like I said, I'm just a regular guy. I think to be a good judge, you got to be a good person first.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Gotta be a
I'm
human being first.
I'm looking at your record, your accomplishments. What I find a lot of our previous Westchester County judges, a lot of them have come from a prosecutor background, which when they go in, even if they go in with a fair mind, and they come from that world, so prosecution is what they know, and that gets represented in how they. I don't see that. So share about.
So we have people in this race that are coming from a prosecutor's background. We have people that are coming from a defense attorney's background. I don't have I'm not saddled with any of that. Okay, I learned how to be a judge on the job. I don't have the prosecutor's mindset. I don't have the defender's mindset. I have the judge's mindset. That's what I've been. I've been a criminal court judge for 8 years. And so I guess to me, I like the fact that I don't have that, because I don't have that bent one way or another. When you're a judge, it's all about balance. It's all about fairness. And those are words you throw around a lot. But, you know, on one hand, you have to be aware of the institutional and implicit bias in the criminal justice system, and make sure that you're treating people who maybe aren't represented well fairly. On the other hand, it is the criminal justice system, and sometimes you get some people there that need.
They need to go to jail.
Yeah, I mean,
Stay
listen,
there.
am I doing, you know, a community of color a favor by letting out someone who's going to go commit more crimes?
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
I gotta say, I used to be a rapper back in the days, and they were starting a program. This is in the late '80s. They were
He
starting a
had a
program.
past life.
When they started a program, they had
Back in the day.
they were trying to have entertainers go into some of the institutions, and they would for entertainment.
Yeah.
And we were part of this experiment. I don't think it worked, but we performed at MCC, and after the show, we was actually in where they eat and
Downtown.
mingling with them and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, I fight for us not to be in jail, but there were some people that I met that I was glad that there was jail. And they were like, yeah, so I'm getting out soon, and I wanted to know where they were going to be and where they live, so I'd make sure that I was nowhere around them areas. And you know, there's a lot of us that are railroad. There are some people who belong in jail.
Yeah.
Like, let's not us like we think, oh my God, they're locking us all up. There are some people who need to be locked up.
Like,
So I just wanted to say that.
And you know
and I
what?
seen that from the inside, you know, as
And
a
that's
visitor.
the key. That's the key. You know, you have to be, on one hand, you have to know when to go light on someone and, you know, give someone a break, and you have to know when, like, oh boy, we got a problem here.
Yeah.
So
And-
we have a question that said, but at the end of the day, if the police are doing their job, but the judges keep allowing them back out, how do we solve that?
Oh, I mean, allowing the people who are defendants back out.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't even know how to address that.
Okay, I just wanted to ask.
I
I mean,
I guess
I
the short-
understand what Donald Nolan is saying, because I had two brothers that were murdered in Yonkers. Six individuals total combined killed both of them. All six of them are walking now.
Yeah.
All six of them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's only, so maybe it's a bit of a cop-out. There's only so much a judge can do. Okay, you only deal with what's in front of you now.
From the prosecution too.
Yeah.
Prosecution has some say in it.
Has to-
I
has to
think.
pres-
that-
they have
I
to
mean, they're
present
the
their
ones that
case.
cut the deals
Well, I'm saying they also have to
and
present
plea
their case.
bargains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, the bottom line is, like I said, you gotta know what you're dealing with. To me, that's the hardest part about being a judge. I can look up any statute, any law. I can look up what burglary is. Say, okay, do you have the elements of burglary? Do you have the elements of assault? That's the easy part. The hard part is knowing who is in front of you, knowing what people are. You know,
And how do you do that? How do you find that out if you're sitting at the bench and they come to you for the first time?
well, part of it's 52 years of life experience. Like I said, I'm a kid from Brooklyn. I grew up in Brooklyn in the 70s and 80s. So, you know, I've been in Westchester for 16 years,
Okay.
living in Ossining. So part of it's just
Big
you know,
difference.
knowing people.
Big difference, huh?
Yeah, oh,
Brooklyn to Ossining. That has to be culture shock. That's
you,
like
know,
a
you
big-
know, I gotta tell you, Brooklyn. Remember, I come from Brooklyn back.
What part of
before the-
Brooklyn? What part?
Midwood and
Okay,
Flatbush.
okay.
So before the day of the $1 million condo and hipsters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Before Dumbo.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing though. When I first moved up here, I thought I was moving to Tawny, Westchester. Everyone's going to be so polite and wonderful. And I got to tell you, I saw some behavior on the Metro North that was worse than what I saw on the MTA and the New York City subway system. So you know, yes and no. You know, yeah. Listen, it's nice up here.
Yeah.
It's Westchester is a beautiful suburb, right?
Yeah.
We all live here. It's a great place. Who would want to live here? But to go to your question, how do you do it? How do you tell?
Yeah, how do you decipher who's good and who's bad?
You know, it's a little bit of experience. It's a little bit of talking to the defendant and the
I
lawyer.
make sure you keep your mic.
Oh, sure.
close,
Sorry,
like,
directional
while
mic.
you-
It's
yeah.
talking to the lawyer. It's talking to the defendant. It's looking at their behavior. And then there are other things that you could look at what they're charged with. You could look at their rap sheet. Now, not everyone's a rap sheet, but sometimes you get some information from there.
Yeah.
You know, if I see someone that's got, you know, just as a way of example, you know, a bunch of petty larcenies, that's what they keep doing. So there's one or two things. Either they just like to steal, or that's someone with some sort of substance abuse problem, possibly.
Yeah.
And then you go and you send them to get evaluated, and there are places you can send them, something called task. and you have them checked out, and you get them evaluated, and you see what you're dealing with, you know, and over the life of a case, you get to figure out what people are. You know, one of the things I was sort of proud of was everyone comes to me with a clean slate. Okay.
Really?
Everyone comes to me with a clean slate. I don't know when someone comes in front of me the first time. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you are. It's up to you to write on the chalkboard and tell me what you are, who you are, what you're about. That's to me the essence of judging. Okay. Like I said, do I have someone that just made a mistake and is doing something stupid and they're not going to do this again? Or do I have someone that's got a problem and needs to either get treatment, get help, get probation, get counseling, or even go to jail? You know, and I don't do any of it lightly. You know, I always tell people the first time I had to send someone to jail, I'll never forget. It was the right decision, but I remember going to sleep at night and I was getting in my bed, and as I'm pulling the covers up, I said, that guy's in Valhalla tonight, sleeping in a cell, because I signed my name to a piece of paper, and I hope I got it right. And I think I did.
That's and I never get a chance to ask judges this, and I don't know if you'll answer. You ever have a situation where you find out you didn't get it right, and somebody's been in jail for a long time? You're like, oh.
Well, thankfully, I've had 8 years of practice in town court, and the maximum I can give someone right now is a year. So far, I don't think.
Good.
So far, I don't think
He
I've made
doesn't have that problem.
the only mistake. Actually, I haven't made mistakes that way, but I've made mistakes the other way. I've made mistakes. Sometimes I was a little too lenient with someone, and then they made
They
me
came
regret
back
it.
the following week.
And so, but you know, the truth is, when you have someone like that, they come back around again, and you could correct the problem. I had someone who had like a 100-page rap sheet, you know, and he said, "Listen, I gotta go to a doctor. Could you please let me go? I'll come back in the afternoon and see you. I promise. I promise. I promise." And I said, "All right, listen, the guy's got a doctor's appointment. It's more important, you know. He's got to get medical treatment." So the doctor was that way. I see the guy walk out of the court. He goes this way, and sure enough, the cops come and tell me that he's, you know, doing drugs back that way.
Well, he was getting his medicine. He just
Yeah.
wasn't getting it the way you did.
So when that happens, then, you know, of course, you have to go the other way. You go, all right, I was lenient. Now it's time that you get a little punishment.
I applaud you for admitting that. A lot of times people are scared to look like they're too soft on crime, and that they won't, you know.
Yeah, you know, I don't think I have that problem. Because, you know, I think what the people know about me in arsoning is I'm fair, and if they do the right thing, it's going to be all right. But if they don't do the right thing, then, you know, you can't be afraid to swing the other way either. It's a balance.
It's important, right? And this is what I've heard, and I've been in front of judges a couple of times, so I always listen to people's advice, that when you present yourself in front of a judge, you do so, and you're supposed to, it's best if you dress accordingly. Shouldn't there be a level of respect for the courtroom?
Yeah, you know, listen,
Can I say something? I always say, I just want to say something.
Yeah.
Some of the best dressed people was Al Capone and the biggest gangsters. Those some of the best. Gotti was one of the best dressed people.
Because he had the money.
No, but I'm just saying though. So, you know, being best dressed sometimes
I don't put too much stock in it. I mean, listen, sometimes people get dragged in there. I have these midnight arraignments that come in their pajamas. You know.
Oh my God, that happened to me once.
Yeah. Well, that.
No. Well, okay, I was working for the city. It was a misunderstanding. I'm just saying. No, I was working for the city of Yonkers. But yeah, that happened.
Well, the funny thing is, I actually had someone come in once. It wasn't a midnight arraignment, and his T-shirt was a giant picture of a gun pointing out.
Oh my God.
And it said, "F the police." And I didn't really say anything. I just called his lawyer up. I said, "Tell him next time he comes, he should change his shirt."
I would think so.
Yeah, that might not be a good representation as you walk into you might want to turn it inside out or something. Like
Yeah. So that was a little much, but for the most part, as long as they're covered, who am I to really talk about how people dress?
He's keeping it real. No.
Who are the other judges running for those two seats?
So I'm one of the designated and endorsed Democratic nominees for the court.
Okay.
The other designated Democratic nominee is a guy named Bob Prisco.
Yes, we endorsed him.
And the other two people are on your show.
Right. Yes, he's the only one that has not been on the show. He's the only one.
Oh.
The other, you
Yeah.
are the third
Yeah.
of the. Yeah.
So me and Mr. Prisco are the Democratic nominees.
Oh, okay.
And I've been endorsed by the Democratic Party, the Hispanic Dems of
I'm
Westchester,
just looking at this.
the
list.
Westchester Black Democrats,
Mhm.
the AFL-CIO, George Latimer, Ken Jenkins, Andre Rainey, Terry Clemens, Chris Johnson. It's on here. I'll show it to you.
Corazon.
Corazon Pineda.
Yeah.
So,
Kathleen Borgia.
Yeah. And that's only
Terry
some. We
Clemens,
couldn't
yeah.
fit them all on the card. We have others.
No, because I think on the ad you have all of them going to. Yeah, like.
Yeah.
In the ad, in the paper. Because that's one of the things I noticed. I was like, wow.
This
that's a
is
whole
pretty
lot of-
cool that you did this.
Yeah. You have
This is good because it shows that he's got a
Yeah.
Well,
that he's got a diverse
I'm
group
going to
of
give a
people
shout out
supporting.
to my campaign manager, Jen, who came up with that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Who I've been
I
talking to?
haven't seen
right?
this.
You know-
I haven't seen this in any palm cards. You see, you get endorsements and you say, "Oh, I've been endorsed by so and so and so," but to actually put pictures of sitting people that are doing anything, whether it's legislative or Ken Jenkins, come on,
So
You
so
know.
Kenny's a
so
good friend.
yeah.
for
Known him
those
30
people.
years.
For those people hearing you for the first time, they don't know who you are. There's only so many
Yeah.
things I can ask you. They might have more questions, might want to contribute to your campaign. Website, social media, anything like that that you
So I
people
have
can
a
get in
great,
touch with you.
a great website at Judge Tawil. It's Judge like Judge Tawil like my last name .com, and I have a Facebook page, Judge Michael Tawil on Facebook. There is a link on the website if you want to donate. I'm not supposed to ask people for money, so
Okay.
But we can say it if you want to donate to his campaign. Go on his website, please.
Well, you already said it. There you go.
There you go.
money helps. Money helps when you're running
Well,
race.
it's-
You want a compassionate judge, people.
and I meant to talk. I wanted to talk to the other. I meant to ask the previous guest. One of the things, like she's running more of a grassroots campaign, and she's running against the machine. The machine usually has a lot of money, a lot of big donors. It makes it hard for the regular person who has aspirations and could be a good elected official to even compete. Unfortunately, you
Well,
know.
I definitely have raised some money, but most of my campaign's been self-funded.
Oh wow!
Because it
Okay.
takes a lot of money to run this race. You're right, and unfortunately, people, even though they should, people don't care that much about judges, so it's hard to raise money. And in terms of the machine, I don't want to talk about other candidates, but other candidates have been beneficiaries of the machine before, and now maybe they don't like the fact that the machine didn't back them.
Right. Well, I applaud you. You said you put up some of your own money. That's putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Like, that's like that for real. That's putting your money where your mouth is. Like, everybody else is messing with OPM, other people's money.
That's right.
And it's
know-
hard when you're running for judge too, because there's certain places you can't go. There's certain things you could do. There's certain place where other people that are in elected positions can speak, but the judge can't. And it's like it's harder for them.
It's funny. I tell people they don't realize that when you're a sitting judge and even a judge candidate, you lose a lot of your First Amendment rights.
Yeah.
You can't come out and say things. that you
Or
wanna
take
say.
pictures with certain people, or post them because it's so difficult.
Any questions I didn't ask you that you want people to know?
I guess I could tell you. I told you before. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm married. I have two wonderful kids: a 16-year-old boy and a 13-year-old girl.
Oh wow,
So,
perfect age.
oh, yeah.
Sorry, good luck.
So
No.
I'm used to dealing with difficult behavior. Let's just say. But they're great.
But I was gonna say, but I bet you they're great too.
They
right?
are.
Yeah.
You know what? They're great kids. They really are. So I really have nothing to complain about. Although I'd like them to maybe grow up a little faster or maybe stay a little younger.
Yeah.
'Cause the teenage years
That
are tough.
teenage
The stay a little younger thing is,
Yeah.
they're so cute and adorable and follow you around and won't leave your side, and then they grow up. And I love my daughter to death. That's my pride and joy. She'll be 30 this year. But I do miss some of them days of, the little girl I used to tag along, and daddy was the whole world, like at that time. Yeah. So appreciate those days and cherish them because they don't last forever.
Well,
That's all
Until
I
you
have to
get
say.
grandchildren.
Well, it's funny. I probably shouldn't make too many jokes, but my kids used to think I was cool and hip and smart Now they think I'm old, fat, and stupid. Had it happen within 2 years.
Yeah, that day when they realize that their father is not a superhero.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm all for justice reform, because honestly, some people are in jail and honestly shouldn't be there. When we have the same repeat offenders committing the same crimes, and they continue to let them back out on the streets, that's what gets me mad. Because eventually, there ends up being innocent life taken. Now, this is Donna Nolan. Her son was killed by senseless gun violence. A budding Major League Baseball player in the streets of Yonkers in a Burger King parking lot, I believe. This is the mother. She gun control, getting rid of gun violence. Gun reform. She's a big advocate. Just as full disclosure.
I mean, gun crimes are a massive problem, and my heart goes out to her loss. That's awful. I couldn't even imagine what it must be like to lose a child to gun violence, and we have unfortunately too many of those. That is a subject that I really have to tread lightly on, because as a judge you can't get into those hot button topics.
Right.
But I guess the only thing I can say is a good judge knows when someone has to go to jail, and it's something that you don't do lightly, but you have to do it. You can't be afraid to do it either. Again, the one thing I come back to is balance. You don't put people in jail just because you, the judge, are having a bad day, but on the other hand, you don't not put someone in jail when they need to be there, because you're not serving society if you don't do that either. There's that big balance between the need to have punishment and some sort of consequence for an action, and understanding the implicit biases that we're dealing with in the criminal justice system.
Comment that has nothing to do with the topic at hand. Lorraine, Carmen Gomez Goldberg said, "Loving that lipstick."
Hi, Carmen. Speaking of judges, her daughter is Elena Gomez. Elena.
Fiancas.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's running for. She is going to be the next city court judge. She doesn't have an opponent. Yeah.
Oh, she won.
Oh, she's lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we covered a lot of territory. You kind of answered it, but point blank, period.
It's Elena Goldberg Vasquez. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I said Gomez.
Right. Point blank, period, for the people listening. On June 25th, Tuesday, June 25th, when they go into that ballot box, why should you be one of the names they pull that lever for, as far for Westchester County Court Judge?
Bottom line is, they want me on the Westchester County Court. I have the experience to do the job immediately. I have the knowledge. I have the know-how. I have the temperament to be the type of judge that Westchester needs. I understand when someone needs leniency and someone needs a break, and I understand when consequences have to be had for bad actions and crimes. And that's the job. And I've been doing it for 8 years. And I've been doing it well, from what people keep telling me.
I've actually heard good things. I mean, I've checked out some of the candidates. I've heard some good things, because I actually did not know your name. I tell people, I came back to New York in 2014. We started this thing, Black Westchester, the radio show. I really was not heavily. I was in the music business, entertainment. I was not heavily into politics, and all the stories that I've done I've learned who the people are, what the positions were, what the charters were, and all these things that I never knew in my life. So I had just heard about you recently, but what I've heard so far has been good, though.
Thank you. It's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Nice to hear.
And I'm sure that folks that see you for the first time here on the radio show would be able to judge, would be able to get a better idea of who you are, and will come to an informed decision one day, and hopefully it'll be a good one.
Shout out to Mount Vernon City Court Judge Adrian Armstrong, who just tuned in. Very good friend of the show. Very, very fair judge in Mount Vernon.
I've heard about him.
Very reasonable. A lot of things you said describe this man, as far as,
Then you
being
know Jen
firm.
Elkers.
I do. I
Okay.
know John Elkers.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
She's running Bob's campaign.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's funny. I had I don't know if I'm allowed to use other people's names, so there was a Yonkers judge, African American judge, who was going out for county court this year, and when I got the Black Democrats of Westchester nomination, she comes up to me and goes, "I want to know what you said to them to get the endorsement." I said, "Listen, you got to live it, right? You got to live it. Doesn't matter about this; it matters about this." And this.
Well, authenticity. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because a lot of time, I've had judges come on here. You've said, actually, this year most of the judges have been more forthcoming. Most before that, most judges like, "Oh, I can't talk about many things. You should vote for me because of this, and I'm the judge this, and and then you're like, okay, what do you think? What do you? And it's a hard thing. Because you're supposed to not ask what you think and what you would do and who you are and how you feel about things. But those are the things I kind of want to know if I'm going to vote for you. Because in a position, what is it, a 10-year?
10 years.
For
That's right.
10 years. Like, I mean, so that's a very heavy
That's a long time.
decision
That's a decade.
to make, and you can't ask the person questions. So I push the bar and I ask what I'm not supposed to ask. And when people answer, they don't answer. So I'm always going to push the bar, so.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, well, there are people that oversee judges, of course.
Right.
A lot of people don't talk about that, but you can't just go wild,
Right, right.
and that's something you always got to keep in mind. That's if the job isn't heady enough and important enough, there are always people that look over you.
I just want to say I've interviewed a lot of judges in the last 2 to 3 years, and several of them now are sitting judges. And I hope never to be in any of your courtrooms, but it's good to know that I know a few of y'all. Though. I'm just saying.
No
I hope
one-
never.
That don't mean nothing when you're in front of them.
I hope I never see any of y'all in your courtroom unless I'm visiting or covering a case.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. Yeah.
Most of the time, when you're in court, something bad happened.
Yeah. So, as I said, I hope never to see any of y'all. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's the truth.
I never want. Yeah. So,
I hope
anything
to
I
only
did,
see you on the radio.
huh?
I hope to only see you on the radio.
I hope you only see it on the radio or the newspaper,
On the
or
newspaper.
something like that. Anything I didn't ask you want people to know? Any last words? Anything? Because I'm at a loss. I don't want to push the bar too much, and I don't know what I can and can't. And I just whatever you can speak on that. Maybe something you want to speak on that I didn't ask you, or
I think you got it. But just come on out June 25th. You're gonna find me position 4A.
4A. Okay.
Not
4A.
bad.
Okay. It's the last one on the line. I got the last spot. Save the best for last. That's
Oh,
right.
really?
Right, because
Yeah.
the judges get their first
This-
on the
it was
ballot.
they put our names into a big bingo ball.
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I came out fourth.
Okay.
So save the best for last. Vote for me. 4A.
There you go.
June 25th at your regular polling station.
Well, I thank you for coming. I greatly appreciate you speaking with our audience. Greatly, I ask everybody. Greatly appreciate you spending your advertising dollars with us, because that's how we keep the paper free for the public. So I've always want to be thankful for that. But yeah, I wish you the best of luck, thank you for your time. I always tell people I've had lots of money, I've lost lots of money, I'll get money again. But one thing, as I'm turning 50, I'm 53. I'm never going to be able to get time back. Time to me right now is even more important than money, and money is important because I can never get time back. So I always thank people for their time.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. I think that's it. Unless you got any last words, just
Go out and vote.
website one more time. Website.
JudgeTawil.com, Judge Michael Tawil on Facebook. Tawil. Easier to spell than it is to say.
Aha. Yes. And I have pronounced it wrong every time till now.
No,
Now I know
once you know how to say it right.
Yeah. Because nobody had ever said it. I only saw it. I never
Tawil.
heard it pronounced. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. So it makes sense. I want to thank you for coming. I want to give you
A round of applause.
There you go. And I wish you the best. I wish you the
Thank you
best.
very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
And if you can